light it up for us and our audience. Obviously, lots of news coming out today. The affidavit released, redacted, half redacted, regarding the Trump Mar-a-Lago search, Crudy. There's a little bit of information in there, and I look forward to hearing some legal experts provide their opinion instead of just listening to you, Crudy. Well, crimes.
I do have opinions.
I know you do.
Whatever sort of crimes may or may not be contained, they're not apparent to the public, near as I can tell, reading other people's reporting of reading the mostly redacted affidavits.
Half redacted.
I'm not reading redacted affidavits. I'll confess to you and Jim Santel.
It doesn't take that long because there's so much redaction.
So there's nothing to see here is what you're saying. So why bother?
Oh, I think there's things to see there. And we will get into it with Jim and Maggie. So folks are going to have to stick around for that.
Former President Donald Trump. And I know we've got some breaking local news regarding the Gableman and the jailing of local mayors if necessary. The Madison mayor, the Green Bay mayor, they've been threatened with jailing if they didn't show up at a liposuction office share in Brookfield, right? Something like that.
Some Republican effort to quote unquote investigate the election. Yes.
Well, apparently, since the firing of Gableman, it's been something of a it's called a headless investigation.
Headless, funless, officeless. I think the only thing proving that anything exists in this is some subpoenas and some court dates.
Apparently, your buddy Robin Voss has seen enough here, Dom. He's rolling her up. I guess we're all done trying to throw Democratic mayors in jail for failing to testify under subpoenas of questionable veracity.
Very questionable. Mitchell Schmidt reporting at the Madison.com. A letter sent Thursday to Madison Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway, signed by Voss and Assembly Chief Clerk Ted Blazel, indicates the subpoena issued last year is, quote, is withdrawn and all obligations for compliance are terminated. I'm sure the mayor is very relieved now that this is no longer the threat of imprisonment, no longer hanging over her head. Similar withdrawal letters were sent to others subpoenaed by Gableman, including officials with the Wisconsin Elections Commission.
We'll have to check with our pal, Mark Thompson, the guy that does the Paul Revere show right here on Monday night. Sits in this chair sometimes.
A little bit here, a little bit more. Madison City Attorney Michael Haas, I think we've had him on before. Speaker Voss has finally recognized that this cynical and divisive exercise should be ended. Despite wasting over $1 million of taxpayer funds, the special counsel has only fanned false conspiracy theories and harmed public confidence in Wisconsin elections. The voters and the public should observe and ask questions about our elections, but they can also have full confidence in the security and integrity of Wisconsin elections. But I'm not clear. I think this is kind of Gableman and Voss's whole point was, waste a little bit of money, not our money, and fan some false conspiracy theories and harm public confidence, because they've done that in droves. That's exactly what they have done, and they have done nothing else.
They've engaged Republican voters. It would seem they state that they're very engaged. We was robbed. It's rigged. And, if we could only get to the bottom of those, voting machines, or Mike Lindell's going to tell us soon, it's a moving target. But as soon as he puts those goalposts down, Tom, I feel quite confident all the corruption will be exposed, and we'll decertify the last election.
Sure we will, yes.
And we'll make the Cheeto Messiah the president.
Yes.
Isn't that how it works out?
Nothing with any of this cast of characters or any of their past behaviors, or we can possibly imagine what the outcome will be. I mean, the whole thing has been a joke. It's a terrible joke, because it in fact has not only wasted taxpayer dollars, and sorry, Republicans, you are not great fiscal agents. You are not fiscal conservatives. And then you engage in this conspiracy theory knowing that there's nothing there. There's nothing there. If there was something there, then why would Robin Voss cancel these subpoenas? Why would Gableman be fired? Because there's nothing there. Why would the judge lambaste Gableman and these attorneys?
Judges be judging.
They should be. Someone's got to be, besides a couple of guys on the radio. What a fiasco. What an embarrassment. And just another example of just really poor leadership, question mark, and certainly judgment of Wisconsin Assembly Speaker Robin Vos.
Well, we tried to fire Voss. I, like the former president, did endorse Adam Steen. And, I might do so again. Apparently, Steen's mounting a write-in campaign down in Mount Pleasant in the fall. Seems less likely to succeed in the fall. In a small turnout partisan primary, that seemed like our best chance, Tom. If we only had 261 more listeners.
Oh, you know what I'm saying?
Maybe I should have called the clerk down in Pleasant Prairie and said, if you could only find me, like 261 more votes for
we all just, make a part. We'll just have random people calling up random election officials and just, question as part of our, job as super cool radio guys, just asking questions. I'm just asking questions. Could you help me find maybe another 300 votes so Voss loses? Just asking questions.
We'll get to the Fulton County later. Donald Trump, of course, the redacted. And of course, Robin Vos knows no shame. Robin Vos should be shamed. He should be electorally defeated, in my opinion. But above and beyond that, this guy's reign as Speaker of the Assembly should be over. Because our side doesn't want him. And apparently Republicans don't want him. And Ram Jam's threatening to take him out back and punch him in the nose. So, watch your nose and your back.
Wisconsin GOP Republican party's in disarray.
You keep saying that.
It's because it's true.
It seems like it might be.
Yeah, you think?
And obviously there's the former president. He's trying to insert himself right before the midterms. That's not going to create any disarray. But obviously the redacted affidavit coming out today. And so Trump's going to Truthy Social. He's got to respond. We gave them much. We gave them much.
We gave them much? Is that what he said?
That is a direct quote. I've got a little bit more here.
But before you do, I know we're going to get to it, but obviously he didn't give them all. Otherwise, they would not have done what they did. And what he's never done this whole time.
I think he probably gave 110%.
What we've never heard from Trump or his attorneys or anybody in Trump's orbit is, why does he have these documents?
Because he declassified them.
Really?
And they're his.
Is that what it is?
He keeps claiming them.
Yeah, but when those things are all
mine.
Not true, when those things are not true, they're not yours. You didn't declassify them. You asked for them. They were subpoenaed. This has been going on for months. And that's one of the things that, if anything else we get, if nothing else we get from this.
I can tell you why.
What?
Mr. Cotton.
Yes, Crudy.
There's a legal opinion offered by a guy named Fitton. And apparently, whenever Trump hears what he wants to hear, he gloms onto that and he holds on tight.
Yeah, right.
Well, Fitton's opinion was effectively, you can keep the documents. So Trump heard what he wanted to hear. He's been telling aides and others.
Is that the Judicial Watch guy, Fitton?
It's exactly the Judicial Watch guy, the guy that's been, trying to subpoena Hillary Clinton's for depositions relative to her emails for years and years and years.
And the classified documents in those emails. Remember how mad they were about that?
He's advising Donald Trump that Trump does not have to release them. So that's it.
That's all you need.
Fitton said.
So we're good to go.
If the shoe fittens, I'm taking the advice. So
what did Trump say today?
Here is what's being reported at one of our favorite sources, Raw Story. Former President Donald Trump reacted to the release of a redacted affidavit about the search of Mar-a-Lago resort, but once again lashing out at the United States Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. In a post made on Truthy Social media platform, the twice impeached former president accused the FBI of running a break-in of his resort, even though FBI agents entered after obtaining a lawful search warrant and were not carrying weapons when they conducted their search. He also accused the FBI and DOJ of lying because there was no mention in the redacted affidavit of looking for documents at Mar-a-Lago related to nuclear weapons, even though such information is the most sensitive information the United States government possesses and would certainly not appear in a redacted document. Even the guy over at Raw Story knows that. But here is what Trump's posting on the Truthy Social. Affidavit heavily redacted! 3 exclamation points. He's serious. Nothing mentioned on nuclear, a total public relations subterfuge by FBI DOJ, and our close working relationship regarding document turnover. We gave them much. All caps. So he must have given them much time.
Wow.
Gave them much. A little bit more. Trump then pivoted to attacking the judge who authorized the search warrant. Now, I read a little piece, Dershowitz. Even Dershowitz is like, hey, don't attack the judge. Dershowitz is a total apologist for Donald Trump. But in this case is saying, the judge was presented with evidence. But anyways, more from the Truthy Social postings of the former. Judge Bruce Reinhardt should never have allowed the break-in of my home. He recused himself 2 months ago from one of my cases based on his animosity and hatred of your favorite president. Barack Obama? What changed? Why hasn't he recused himself on this case? Oh, here's Obama's name. Obama must be very proud of him right now. Apparently a Obama appointee. Government lawyers have opposed the release of the affidavit, but the judge ordered it unsealed with redactions the Justice Department said were necessary to protect an ongoing investigation involving national security. And if you'll recall, Dom, the FBI agents raided, and even that, I feel like it's a strong word, raided Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate in Palm Beach on August 8th.
Well, what would you call it? I mean, isn't that what you call it?
An FBI raid, I guess that's a fair characterization.
Yeah, that's all I've ever called it. If you get raided, I'm saying that doesn't indicate to me any sort of, they did not have legal justification.
Cindy Archer, paramilitary raid. All these Republicans often, when they are the subject of law enforcement action.
When they're the subject of a legal raid, it's a problem.
It's like they've never seen an episode of Cops in their life. It's always much, much worse what's happened to them. I'm like, watch a Cops episode, right?
Everybody else goes through the same thing.
Dominic, the warrant for the raid cited 3 criminal statutes, including one falling under the Espionage Act, which makes it a crime to illegally obtain or retain national security information, and another on the obstruction of a federal investigation.
What?
Throw that on the pile of obstruction.
I mean, that's of course he does. That is what Donald Trump does all the time. He does something wrong, and then he tries to obstruct any sort of investigation or justice to be served. That's his MO.
Well, Dominic, let's not forget, the former president filed a lawsuit Monday urging a court to name an independent party or special master to screen files seized in the FBI's raid for materials protected by personal privilege. Like Trump's discussing some other lawsuit with one of his lawyers.
Right.
Naming a special master could potentially block investigators access to the documents, especially if he or she accepts Trump's claims that most were privileged. That was supposed to be determined today as well, right? Am I wrong on that? For some direction from the former U.S. attorney sneaking in.
We'll find out. We'll jump in. We're still dealing with some of those technical issues, so we're going to talk our way through this break, and we're going to bring in our good friend.
Why take a break?
James Santel. We don't need to take any stinking breaks. There's too much going on, Jim. We got to get to it. Thanks again for joining us, man. Always good to see you.
Welcome
to be with
to
you
the
once
Friday
again.
Political Party, Jim Santel.
Here we go again, right?
Here we go again. All right, so 34 pages released today, heavily redacted. I actually read it. It was pretty easy reading since it was so much redaction. Curdy did not. So for
I have
Curdy's
not read
sake,
the redacted portions.
You're still waiting for the Mueller report too to
I
do that
am.
review as well, right? Lots of things backing up in your library, I take it.
Jim, what's your? I know you reviewed it. I know you have a printout. I know you wasted lots of toner today.
Right. Once again, I've got to run back to my office supply store on the way home to get more toner.
Hit the easy button.
Right.
Come on, it's got a PDF it to your phone. You're killing the trees.
Right. Exactly. Right.
What was your takeaway? The most important takeaway from this?
17 different things, right?
Yeah, right.
Maybe at the top of the list, the thing that you just mentioned, you and Mike just mentioned, which is obstruction, right? We know that there have been documents taken out. We know about the series in January, June, and then obviously the search in August. And we're all concerned about that, profoundly concerned about what he's got, what he retained. And then we get this other information today in the affidavit that we've also got a concern about obstruction. And again, to the category of here we go again. Have we heard this before? Yes, you engage in the underlying offense conduct. You do the things that are wrong. And what do you do? It's precisely what you just said a few moments ago, Dom. Then you try to cover it up. You do things to make certain that people don't know about it. And at the risk of once again invoking the Mueller report, that's exactly what Bob Mueller found too. You've got this maybe or maybe not offense conduct related to Russia, but then you've got the major crime, which is trying to not disclose that, to obstruct it, and that could be as much a problem for Donald Trump today as is the underlying retention and maybe this use of documents for reasons we do not know.
Oh, paper crimes.
It changed. I think it changed today. It changed today with what we're seeing here in this affidavit.
What changed? The fact that obstruction was mentioned as a possible crime, because the failure to relinquish these documents in some way, shape, or form is a known action, a known obstruction. Would it not be, Jim?
Sure, absolutely. And what changed is that focus by the Department of Justice on this. And the other piece of it that we do get revealed today is a little bit more about what classified information is all about. We talked about this last Saturday morning on Morning Cannolis and described some of the categories here. You've got some specific references to some initials here. And again, when I was in Iraq, I was very sensitive to these kinds of things. We had a lot of classified information, various categories, and it relates to who can see it, what kind of a document it is, and where you maintain it. And the references in this affidavit now, the portion of it that has been revealed, suggests to me that we've got some very serious matters here. Again, putting aside the nuclear issue, this is not simply a matter of sort of presidential records and annotations on a speech that you gave in Des Moines, that sort of thing. Those references indicate to me that there are some serious issues here about what he has. National security, we know based upon what you just said before the break here and in the affidavit generally, at least one, if not more, statutes that talk about national defense issues. That also brought to my attention by virtue of the specific non-redaction of that kind of information here.
Jim, specifically HCS, which is apparently clandestine human sources.
Right.
FISA, we've heard that a lot.
Right.
FISA information, and no foreign government are supposed to see these kinds of documents. And apparently Trump had them. Trump or his attorneys said they gave them all back. Through his attorney, said they gave them all back. They obviously did not. And what we also don't know, because this is, of course, an affidavit prior to the search, what else did they dig up? What else did Trump have?
Exactly.
There are so many questions above and beyond the very specific categories of documents, how they were dispersed, apparently with other boxes, out of their original boxes, out of order. I mean,
absolutely.
What does that tell you, Jim?
Sure. And we've also got some references here to video on site and some movements apparently of those documents in and out. It's not entirely clear how they moved around Mar-a-Lago, but they're moving around.
In that video, on the timeline, my impression is they've subpoenaed, they got the video footage, and shortly thereafter, they went in and
said, wait a minute, these are not just documents that are sitting there inside a safe.
So maybe they saw something.
Exactly.
And then they've requested again some more footage as well.
Precisely. What was going on there? And that again is no small part of this, which is again the location. It is one thing, horrific though it is, to have the documents, have them in a way that again is not secure. If there are people moving around with these documents, who are those folks? Again, it goes to your question about what is the motive for taking these documents in the first place. Very, very concerning. And then with respect to these particular initials, if you will, also the other big takeaway here is you've got human beings here, not only who talked about things going on at Mar-a-Lago, you've got witnesses who plainly are there, plural, not just one, probably not just two, maybe several on various different venues at that site, and concerns about their safety, their security, I would say in two ways. We mentioned before the violence right now in America, this fact that we think now it's okay to retaliate against people who may be testifying in ways that we do not like. That's hugely important and horrific. And then there's also the spy stuff, right? That's also out there. Are we concerned about compromising people who are in a very special condition overseas?
Our fine guest, James Santelli, joins us in the Shaw, the unredacted version. I'll wait for that. I'll read it then.
Sure you will.
But you mentioned motive, Jim. We're sneaking to our first break of the day, apparently. What do you think motivates a guy if you had to speculate, Counselor?
Right. Again, you'd like to think, gosh, I just like to hang on to stuff. so I can write my memoirs.
Pack rat?
Right. Could be. I don't think so here.
Hoarder?
Right. This is someone who knew what he had in those boxes and thought, I may not have a real clear understanding right now. This could be very helpful. Or the extent that there's obstruction here, I've got to get these documents out and eliminate some stuff before people see it.
I got a whole stack of papers in the garage. Maybe I'm like Trump in that regard. Come back. Find us the guest, James Santel, live in the Shaw Studios. More Devil's Advocates. Devil Radio has been kicking ass, earning every listener, and providing our sponsors return on investment 3 years now on the Madison airwaves. And there has never been a better time than right now to advertise with us and join the Devil Radio community. Our audience is loyal and growing every day. Active listeners that don't flip. Wonder if your ad dollars are working? Devil Radio listeners will tell you it works. Ad production is included. Devil Radio will make it easy for you to start seeing return on your investment. Call today.
Expectations. I'm Ben Thomas with an AP News Minute.
We must keep at it until the job is done.
Federal Reserve Board Chair Jerome Powell in Jackson Hole, Wyoming today, expressing his view on interest rate hikes aimed at taming inflation.
Restoring price stability will take some time and requires using our tools forcefully to bring demand and supply into better balance.
Those words sent stocks tumbling on Wall Street. The Dow lost more than 1,000 points, 3%, while the S&P dropped 141 points to 3.4%, and the Nasdaq fell nearly 500, 3.9%. But fresh data today did offer some hope inflation may have peaked. The Commerce Department's PCE, closely watched by the Fed, shows the year-over-year rise in consumer prices throttled back to 6.3% in July, after June saw the biggest jump since 1982. Energy prices were the difference. Finally, workers at a Chipotle in Michigan have voted to unionize, the first of the food chain's 3,000 locations to do so. I'm Ben.
We tried Dynovite nutritional supplement, and after a couple of weeks, we noticed a big difference. Our little Gizmo's coat was shinier, and there was a lot less scratching and shedding.
My dog smelled and scratched constantly. We bathed and sprayed her, took her to the vet, but no results. Now, a little Dynovite in her food helps Bella keep her beautiful coat with no scratching or smell.
Happier, healthier with every bite. Over 1 million pets helped with Dynovite.
What if you could refinance your mortgage without adding years to your loan, potentially saving up to $1,000 a month? Believe it or not, it's possible when you call American Financing, America's home for home loans. Learn about custom loans that fit your budget better without paying upfront or hidden fees. Call 866-886-2026. That's 866-886-2026. Or visit AmericanFinancing.net. NMLS 182334. NMLS ConsumerAccess.org.
I would have gotten away with it, too, if it wasn't for those meddling devil's advocates.
Saturday workouts.
Hey, girl. Hey, what's up? You almost done? About 2 minutes or so. Meet you outside.
Then brunch.
See you there.
Getting back to the moments we miss starts with getting informed. Get the latest info about COVID-19 vaccines at getvaccineanswers.org. It's up to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at P4PPC.org.
The Devil's Advocates. Political commentary from the back of the class.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Happy Friday to us all. We are stoked. It's not just because it's Friday, because our friend James Santel, former U.S. attorney, coming to hang out and talk some legal stuff on the air with us. Jim, thanks again, man.
Good to be with you once again on an important day to talk legal stuff.
Yes, a very important day. It seems like another day in the life of Donald Trump. Court cases, affidavits, redaction. We've gone through this before. Is this any different to you this time, Jim?
It feels the same in many ways because of those themes. I would say that it is different just because it's a reaffirmation of what he thinks about his former power and his present power. One of his lawyers in one of the memorandums, I think it was in May of this past year, wrote that the president, by virtue of being the president, cannot be engaged in the violations of the law. Basically saying, I'm above the law. And you have to believe that kind of a statement, which is wrong, make it very, very clear that's wrong. That is not an accurate codification of the law. No one is above the law.
But a former president's attorney wrote that in a court filing. So
absolutely.
That must be true,
right? It must be true, therefore, right? And that's the concern. And again, he's not playing to the judge. He's not playing to you and me and your listeners who know better. He's playing to a public that does not know better. And they think, well, gee, if a lawyer wrote it and it's in court, it's got to be the case. Donald Trump apparently, according to one of the 2 or 3 people who were involved in the affidavit, or even some other setting, said, these boxes are mine. That's the kind of arrogance that, again, supports that notion that I can do whatever I want. I'm above the law and I'm not subject to any kind of prosecution. I can't even be subject to a search warrant. And that's not only has to be wrong, that is wrong. And that's the other part of this. We've seen all that before, this notion that laws do not apply to me. This is a reaffirmation of it. And so for that reason, even in the wake of everything we've gone through in the past 5 to 6 years, it is still there as strong as it has always been. That's what I find especially troubling as I read through this today.
I know there's other issues we want to get to, but before we wrap up this particular issue, anything else from the affidavit today you think is pertinent and important that people should know about?
Sure. Again, we talked about the witnesses and the people there. You have to wonder, there are folks out there right now, they're in this country. They have spent some good period of their time recently talking to FBI agents, telling what they saw, what they perceived, and they have done, not just a yeoman's service, but they've done what citizens need to do. Come forward and identify and describe to the highest levels of law enforcement what they have seen in violation of law by a man who's a former president. Those people today, and you have to believe that those folks who are looking at the redactions are trying to figure out, okay, paragraph 65, who is that? What is, and you can't tell. It's very, very difficult to tell. But nonetheless, you have to believe there's scouring going on right now. Who at Mar-a-Lago, who is in and out, who among these folks who is in fact talking to the government, and an attempt, again, not just to intimidate them, to shut them down and maybe horrifically do more than just threaten them. That's why those people need to be protected. And I think America should be concerned about that notion too. You come forward with information, whether as a witness or someone who's providing information to an FBI agent, and this is what happens under a Trump regime. Not just unacceptable, completely, it should be sanctioned in some dramatic way.
Of course, that's not the way it's being played, Jim. In right-wing MAGA world, I was listening to right-wing talk radio today, and they're saying, well, this unprecedented invasion of the president's home, it's never happened in the history of our country. And then they went on to say, well, there's nothing here. We've all now seen the redacted version. And since there was nothing to see in the redacted version, there's nothing
there
to see here.
Right. And
that, of course, is what Trump's saying. Affidavit heavily redacted. Mm-hmm. That's his defense.
Right.
Well, of course, that's necessary. My understanding, if you'll indulge me, is that the judge effectively had to read the unredacted copies and then okayed these redactions and only went along because the judge thought it was necessary to preserve the integrity of the investigation.
Right, exactly. The judge, the magistrate judge there who issued the initial search warrant, he saw the affidavit 3 weeks ago, and when he had it in front of him, he is the one who authorized this. He's got everything not just in mind, but he's got it right in front of him. So he gets this redacted version yesterday from the Department of Justice, which again begrudgingly says, okay, magistrate judge, we'll do this. That process in and of itself, maybe not unprecedented, but quite extraordinary, I should say as well. But why is he doing that? Why is he going down this road? Why does Merrick Garland say, you know what, I'm going to release the cover pages, and yes, I'll go along with this process? It's exactly because of what you just described, Mike, which is there is so much information out there, not accurate information, bad insight that is simply deceptive, that for the purposes of the integrity of the system, Department of Justice, the court system, let us tell America something that we can about the seriousness of this, and that all the other stuff out there is just hooey, quite literally not true.
And of course, the DOJ is not in a position to make full disclosure, but anything less than full disclosure. And the way it was presented, and I'm just telling you right-wing talk radio's version, you must indict Trump. If you claim there's probable cause and you've gone and got these documents, the only logical step left is you must indict Trump.
Yes.
Right. And some people will say, and the argument is where, right? And to that point, candidly, to go down that road a little bit, you have to believe that Merrick Garland, who not only authorized this search, but now is authorizing the release of some of this information, he is got that no longer just in the back of his mind. He is headed in that direction. This is something that he has got to be thinking of himself. As a practical matter, what you just described, Mike, of course, that is wrong too. This is a part of an investigation. Many investigations do not result in the indictment of an individual or corporation. A great majority of them do, because the initial probable cause turns out to be compelling beyond a reasonable doubt to a jury of 12.
So the probable cause was probable?
A probable cause is probable, and more than that. And the very fact that we've got 15, 16 pages here of probable cause that we can't see right now, that the judge did see, makes this highly probable. In the end, the point that you're making, Mike, is that this inaccurate civics notion that if you've got a search warrant, therefore you've got to indict, completely wrong. And once again, I'd offer that got to go back to fundamentals about.
Disagree, Jim. I don't disagree from this perspective. If you're going to allow them to execute a search warrant on the former president, there is no half step from there forward.
Oh, I think you're right now, and that's why I'm saying I think that Merrick Garland intends to charge. I'm sparring with the real practical 8th grade civics notion that a search warrant necessarily means you are compelled, therefore, by virtue of that search warrant, to indict someone.
The Espionage Act is what they're talking about today, Jim. Do you have knowledge of it? What specifically? How does that apply? It was 1917 law or something. How does that apply today in your mind?
Sure. And so obviously intended to stop people from disclosing information to our enemies, people who could compromise our safety and security. The fact that the Espionage Act is invoked in all of this underscores once again the seriousness of this. These are not simply documents. These are notes in preparation for a speech to the Republican National Committee, that sort of thing. Espionage Act invoked rarely, but in those circumstances where we're talking spies type things, the safety of our country is compromised, and the invocation of that underscores the fact that this is not simply a paper review here.
And you know, I am obviously no fan of Donald Trump, but I worry for this country even if it was through no fault of Trump's, and I doubt it, but if someone got their hands on something over the course of the last 12 to 18 months, something was copied, something was transferred, something was showed, something made a note. Again, human sources, this puts people in danger. I mean, anything like that goes down, I mean, technically Trump would be responsible for every single thing that goes on after this moment as it pertains to those documents. And how would we even know, Jim?
Right. You reasonably anticipate the consequences of your actions, what you're describing. There's a similar concept in the criminal law. We know as well, one of the sub-stories that's out there is, remember this woman named Anna, who was apparently in and out of Mar-a-Lago about a year or so ago, some reporting on her being there, and went in and purported to be either a family member or a staff member. She is now resurfacing again. And apparently we're investigating investigating her. The point is, it underscores.
Is that the Rothschild one that claims to be a Rothschild, something like that?
I think that's it. Apparently, you can walk into Mar-a-Lago and say, I've got a reservation. I can endear myself to people there, come up with a story, and the next thing you know, you're having dinner in the main dining room.
It's a social club.
If
That's what people do there.
If that is the case, then your concern about documents moving around is very legitimate, and I think that's what the FBI is concerned about too. Who's got these things, and who knew that they were there and said, you know what, let's send somebody in as the caterer, as somebody who can change the towels in the bathrooms, and the next thing you know, you're wandering into the 45 office and you've got access to some of this.
Jim, as you mentioned, during this affidavit release, what was not redacted was added to it was a letter by his attorneys and stating these very asinine things. You know, he cannot be charged. If he does it, it's not a crime. Very Nixon-esque. But you know, that wasn't the only terrible piece of news of legal documents that came out this week, Jim. I got to harken back to the bar Department of Justice and his lieutenants that gave this memo to Barr to justify the Justice Department to not charge Donald Trump with obstruction of justice.
And once again, a document filled with legal inaccuracies. And I'm not saying that out of any partisan view or perspective. Anybody who has done any prosecution, any lawyer, anybody who thinks about it knows that 2 or 3 of the fundamental things that they describe in that memorandum, these are people in the Office of Legal Counsel sent up to the Deputy Attorney General with the intention of it landing on the desk of the Attorney General, saying things like, because there was not a finding by the special counsel that this Russia thing is a predicate for prosecution, therefore there could never be obstruction. That the fact that the underlying facts and the circumstances don't give rise, at least in Mueller's view at the time, to a prosecutable offense, therefore there cannot be obstruction at all.
Well,
that is simply wrong.
Of course, it's asinine, because if there was very good and effective obstruction, well, then that would obviously not allow for the full facts to come out.
And that's why the public policy is just in the opposite direction. You think about a million situations where I am charged with something, even if I haven't done it, but I go to you, Dom, and I say, you better not testify. I'm going to destroy these documents. I'm going to try to fire the person who's investigating, all those kinds of things. That is obstruction in and of itself. And one of the principal premises of that memorandum sent to the Attorney General of the United States of America is that that's why we can't go ahead with this. Other problems with the memorandum, including things like, the president was animated by political concerns, right? The future of his presidency. Once again, mixing up motive with intent. That may have been his motive. He's still intended. He's still intended to obstruct justice. It's the difference between going into a bank because I need to buy a new car. That would be my motive, but my intent is still to rob the bank. And that too is hugely problematic. All kinds of things.
But this is the Office of Legal Counsel. This is the same, crack legal team that gave us the memo that said you can't prosecute a sitting president.
Right. Exactly.
Jim, what's going on at the OLC, man?
What is going on? And as we've talked before, the release of this memorandum should, I would think, prompt Merrick Garland to do 2 things. One is to send a memorandum to all assistant U.S. attorneys out there to say, you know what, we released this memorandum that came out of OLC, out of the insides of the Department of Justice not too long ago. Let me reaffirm the principles of federal prosecution here, that the 3 or 4 things that this is premised upon, including this notion that you can attempt something, but if you're not successful, then also you can't be prosecuted. And a third completely crazy notion. He's got to get out there and say, number one, none of those things is true, so that all assistant United States attorneys understand the law is still a law. And secondarily, this can also be a time to begin to clean up OLC and say, you know what, we've got this anachronistic memo out there. It's referenced again, frankly, in the affidavit here that we're talking about today. And in the end, the Department of Justice should go forward and say, we're going to rescind that memorandum. And now all presidents are subject to the law. They're not above the law, and we've got to make that clear to America. Rescind that memorandum now, Mr. Attorney General.
Former U.S. Attorney James Santel, our fine guest in the Shaw Studios, going overtime with Jim, saw Alan Dershowitz, once a respected law professor, now something of a Trump apologist. And he used the term again, of course, any grand jury would indict a ham sandwich. And I, like the discerning, listened to Morning Cannolis last Saturday morning, hosted by James Santel, our fine guest. Jim, you as a former U.S. prosecutor talked about the fact they don't always return the indictment.
Ain't so. At least not in my experience, or the experience of, frankly, virtually every other assistant U.S. attorney who's out there who does prosecutions and presents cases to grand juries. Couple of things. One is, yes, my own experience has been that at least two, I won't tell you what they are, because that would be a violation of, yes, the federal criminal law, even to this day. But on two,
I declassify all your thoughts.
Very good. On the back of the napkin there. We're all set to go then. On at least two, if not three occasions, I had grand juror forepersons come to me afterwards, a presentation of an indictment, and say, Mr. Santel, thank you for your presentation. Respectively, we do not concur, and literally hand back to me the proposed indictment, and the case is done. And you know what? That's a reaffirmation of the rule of law in that moment. That's exactly what James Madison anticipated. That's what America should be proud of, right? Because you've got a grand jury that says, you know what? We are the check. I would like to think I was not out of control. I still believe that those cases were viable, but you know what? That's not the system. A grand jury determines whether that can happen, and that's in our Constitution. Second point I would make, much related. Every single grand juror, 23, 26 people over a period of 18 months, over a period of 30 years, I've done this kind of work. They all take the job incredibly seriously. They show up on time. They ask questions. Yes, initially they're sort of taken aback by the fact that they've got to show up, at least here in the Eastern District, Western District, a couple of times a month for 7 and 8 hours. And oh, by the way, that lasts 18 months, could be extended even to 2 years. By the time they're done, every single one of those people says, this has been a reaffirming experience for me. I'm proud to be a citizen of this country. I'm proud to be a part of this process. I learned something, which is also important. I learned about the integrity of this system, and it's premised upon people reviewing things. The reality is, Mr. Dershowitz, you cannot indict a ham sandwich.
Well, Jim, that it gives me some solace, I guess. But when you contrast that with the Bill Barr and the OLC and this cover up. This is a cover up. Jim, you read it. You know there's obstruction there. Number one, you concur this is a cover up. Number two, what can happen to the deputies, and is Barr liable in any way, shape, or form?
Probably the straightforward answer to that question is very little, right? Because what we're talking about here are internal memoranda still. We're talking about statements made to each other in the deliberative process. They're wrong, they're offensive, they're completely contrary to the rule of law. Whether it is a violation of the federal criminal law, I think that's another big step. Here's the other portion of it, however. If I were to have written, when I was an assistant U.S. attorney or at Maine Justice to the Attorney General, a memorandum that I knew, and these folks knew, they know that on these 2 or 3 major things we just talked about, these are completely wrong statements of the law, and they have been it for 200 years. If I would put together that memorandum, and I'm sending this to whom? To the principal federal law enforcement officer in the United States of America, and telling him to rely upon this, rely upon me, and also, frankly, along the way, misstating the facts of what the Mueller report is all about. If I were to do that, do you think I would not get in trouble inside the Department of Justice, and arguably, here we go again, with a Barr entity, that I made misrepresentations, maybe not in a court of law, but nonetheless in connection with something related to the administration of justice? That's the concern.
All right, well, and I get that, but you said you talked about the violation of federal law. To me, it's a cover-up. If someone came to Bill Barr, there was no consideration, no contemplation, no review of the facts. He got 2 guys to write something that he took as wanted, probably, that are wrong on the facts and wrong on the law, and use that to justify not charging a crime for the guy he's been covering up for the whole time he was there. Okay, so that may not be a criminal act. Then what would be, Jim? I mean, how blatant and obvious does he got to be holding the bloody knife in his hand before there's a criminal investigation? Because this is the DOJ. If that's what they're gonna do, right, then why should I have so much time and effort and respect and love for the grand jury process if that's how DOJ acts?
Sure. And again, I take I take your outrage, Dom, to be legitimate. It is. It's exactly that. You should be outraged by the fact that you've got a chief federal law enforcement officer. You've got deputy assistant attorneys general inside the Office of Legal Counsel writing this stuff. They're supervising other people, presumably to this day. I don't know for certain, but there are still civil servants who are inside OLC who may have also had involvement in writing this sort of thing. If there is not a civil or a criminal case to be brought here, this should be the kind of thing that Congress reviews again, perhaps enacting new legislation regarding the structure of the Department of Justice, how things are done. All those kinds of things have got to be the subject of government review. And I would simply add this about the concern about the Department of Justice and grand juries. We recognize, too, that courts are imperfect. Be very clear, too, that grand juries themselves are not the Department of Justice. They're functions of the court system. And so that's the reason why they can look across the table and say, Mr. Santel, we do not concur. They are invested, they're sworn by courts. Again, not that courts are perfect either, but nonetheless, they do not sit, unlike OLC, which sits right in the middle of the Department of Justice. Thus, your legitimate outrage. The grand jury, other things outside the trial juries, those are in other settings, quite literally in physically settings, and they are not beholden to a U.S. attorneys or to the attorney general. They respond to judges who put them in those places. A little civics lesson along the way.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, Dom needs it. Our fine guest, former U.S. Attorney James Santel, running short on time, Jim. Got to ask you. New news out, at least if you're checking the Foxy news, the head of Facebook, Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, effectively said his corporation was approached by the FBI and they were told to stifle the Hunter Biden laptop story as Russian propaganda. And I know that Ron Johnson, through the course of this campaign, has been talking about the fact he was approached by the FBI and basically said, no, you're wrong. And we now find out, or at least we have found out, the New York Post apparently did have some of this information, and the spread of some of this information was stifled, Jim, purposefully by these social media companies at the direction of the federal investigatory body, the FBI. Of course, this timing conspicuous because, Trump's guilty of something, but what about Hunter Biden and the laptop from hell, Jim?
It's one of those matters that, again, should give everybody great pause and great concern. The questions that I have are, under what circumstances were those kinds of things? Let's assume that they were said, that there was implicit, if not explicit, direction that, hey, you need to shut this down. This is all craziness. The question is, are you doing this in the midst of an interview in which that comes up and they ask, well, what should we do about this? And a special agent says, well, it's our information that what you have posted is not accurate. I'm not saying that did happen or didn't happen, nor am I justifying anything out there. I would not want to know a whole lot more about the circumstances. It's very easy for private individuals, whether it's Mark Zuckerberg, other people, to say, you know what, I was visited by the FBI and they were asking me questions about where I got this information. And the next thing they say is, well, plainly the message was shut this down, which may or may not have been the message. We don't know. I would once again like to see, this is congressional oversight. Call some of these folks in, call people from the FBI building, J. Edgar Hoover building, and ask them about what was done in those circumstances and the settings for those. What were the messages? What was the intent? Find out about the memos that went out in advance of those engagements. What were the directions given? And then we have more conversation about that. If there were some errant FBI agents, they need to be penalized too. If not, let's make certain that the facts are understood clearly.
It's just unfortunate. We got to talk about Hunter Biden in the context of Donald Trump's perhaps crimes, because of course, he has been corrupt to the bone through the entirety of his career. Every indication is, but he continues to turn around and be able to plausibly, some would say, accuse Joe Biden of a political witch hunt, and of course, Joe Biden covering up the actions of his own son. And now they can point to the statement made by the head of Facebook that the FBI was part of the cover-up boys.
And once again, it goes to this increasing difficulty we have in the United States of America of knowing the truth. And maybe we've never really had a perfect truth sense, but more and more, whether it's on social media, these kinds of representations, in the media generally that this happened, and therefore being seized upon somebody who says, I need that information, that will support my view of the world, and I'm going with it, regardless of how crazy it might be. We've talked about this before, that's the concern about a republic, that, again, no longer can rely upon truth and a fact-finding basis.
Jim, last 60 seconds, Alan Weisselberg pleads guilty. That's brag. That's what do you think?
Right. The new DA there, it looks as if he is going to talk about the corporation, but not Donald Trump. We'll see how that plays out. He does have to testify at an upcoming trial. Sounds like he's sticking firm and not giving up his former boss.
And they're not going to do sentencing until after the testimony is given.
And that makes some good sense. That makes some good sense to make certain he knows that he's not done when he leaves the stand during the course of that trial. That makes perfect sense as a prosecutorial matter, ensuring that Alan Weisselberg knows that he's got to live up to the terms of his plea agreement.
James Santel, looking forward to the morning cannolis tomorrow morning, 9 to 11 a.m., playing all across the Civic Media Network. Our fine guest, James Santel, friend of ours. Jim, thanks for coming around.
Always a pleasure, gentlemen. Good to see you once again.
Yeah, thank you, Jim.
We'll take a short break. I think it'll be short, coming back at the 5 o'clock Happier Happy Hour with Maggie Dawn.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
When you're having computer problems, you need a company you trust to get things working again, quickly and affordably. Madison Computer Works has been doing that for business and residential customers for decades. Our computer care plans take away the hassle of being without your computer or needing to bring it in for repair. Starting at only $10 a month, our local and friendly techs provide remote help and can fix most problems in just minutes. Call 608-231-8000 and sign up today. Madison Computer Works, computers that work for you.
Listen to the Empowered Caregiver Show each Saturday and Sunday morning at 8 a.m. with hosts Liza Hellenbrand and Kristen Voss.
Right here on Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus, W224 EG Madison. Always streaming on the Devil Radio.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. The Justice Department today released a redacted document explaining the justification for FBI agents searching Donald Trump's Florida estate. Sagar Magani has details.
The partially blacked out affidavit says 14 of 15 boxes taken from Mar-a-Lago earlier this year had classified records. They included 25 documents marked top secret. The affidavit says given that, there was probable cause to believe more classified material was still at Trump's home. The Justice Department removed sensitive details about the scope and direction of the Trump probe, including witnesses, citing potential safety threats. Sagar Magani, Washington.
Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell delivered a stark message determined to fight inflation with more sharp interest rate hikes.
While higher interest rates, slower growth, and softer labor market conditions will bring down inflation, they will also bring some pain to households and businesses. These are the unfortunate costs of reducing inflation. But a failure to restore price stability would mean far greater pain.
There was some new data today suggesting inflation may have peaked. The Commerce Department's Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index, which is closely watched by the Fed, shows the year-over-year rise throttled back to 6.3% in July, after a June rise that was the biggest in 40 years. Still, stocks plunged on Powell's words, with three major indexes all losing 3% or more. Dow down 1,008 points. Meantime, in Britain, the UK's energy regulator says residents will see an 80% increase in their annual household energy bills. In Ukraine, authorities have begun distributing iodine tablets to residents near the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant in case of a radiation leak. It's feared fighting around the complex could trigger a catastrophe. This is AP News.
We tried Dynovite nutritional supplement, and after a couple of weeks, we noticed a big difference. Our little Gizmo's coat was shinier, and there was a lot less scratching and shedding.
My dog smelled and scratched constantly. We bathed and sprayed her, took her to the vet, but no results. Now, a little Dynovite in her food helps Bella keep her beautiful coat with no scratching or smell.
Happier, healthier with every bite. Over 1 million pets helped with Dynovite.
What if you could refinance your mortgage without adding years to your loan, potentially saving up to $1,000 a month? Believe it or not, it's possible when you call American Financing, America's home for home loans. Learn about custom loans that fit your budget better without paying upfront or hidden fees. Call 866-886-2026. That's 866-886-2026 or visit AmericanFinancing.net. NMLS 182334. NMLS ConsumerAccess.org.
Stay informed with progressive news and talk on Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, McFarland's choice for essential radio.
The greatest radio show ever could be your greatest advertising investment ever. Partner with the Devil's Advocates and activate our loyal, educated, and engaged audience today. In-show interviews and sponsored special events considered across Wisconsin. Affordable digital and terrestrial ads available in Chicago and Minneapolis and directly on the Devil Radio app. Make a deal with the Devils and get the Devil's Advocates bump to your bottom line. Call or text 844-967-2789 today.
Hey folks, Stephanie Miller here. As an enlightened progressive, you know how important it is to do business in accordance with your politics. That's why Solidarity Realty is my favorite real estate firm in Madison. Solidarity Realty is a local independent realty company that lives their values. They provide outstanding expertise and protect your best interests while building community and promoting sustainability and diversity. Vive la resistance! Find them today at solidarityrealty.com. And don't forget, tell them Stephanie Miller sent you.
Hey, this is Matt from Design Garden. Remember when the internet was new? Back then you had to leave your house to start a business. Companies used to pay programmers bags of cash to get online. Now, small businesses can get online with a Facebook business page, or Squarespace, or Google My Business, or WordPress. But which tools should you use? Can you afford to go down the wrong path? Design Garden uses modern tools to build your website the right way. Find us online at design.garden. Again, that's design.garden.
I am once again asking you to listen to Devil Radio 92.7 FM. I believe they have the moral fiber to create a progressive movement in Wisconsin and indeed in America.
For Civic Media, I'm Jane Natnair with your headlines. Wisconsin saw a massive exodus of workers from the public sector last year, and it's not related to retirement. The Wisconsin Policy Forum reporting more than 17,000 state residents left public sector jobs, the most in 20 years. The report concludes 1 in 10 workers who were members of the Wisconsin Retirement System's active employees and those who began working in 2021 left the labor force or became inactive by the end of the year. The report says the exodus of public workforce employees can be attributed to both Wisconsin's aging population and the strain on state institutions due to the COVID pandemic. The Wisconsin Policy Forum estimates the K-12 education system will bear the brunt of the consequences. Partly cloudy today with a high 77, clear tonight, low 56. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM, WTTN 1580 AM.
Devil Radio programming is produced live in the Solidarity Realty studios. Find them at solidarityrealty.com. Solidarity Realty. There is an alternative.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the Devil Radio studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday edition. Want to thank our most recent guest to find one right here in the Shaw Studios, James Santel. Don't forget to tune in to Morning Cannolis, 9 to 11 a.m., all across the Civic Media Radio Network. And we are joined right now live via Zoom by the Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel. Friend of ours, she is Maggie Dawn, attorney at law. Maggie, welcome back to the greatest radio show ever.
Hey, Maggie.
Hey guys, how's it going on this beautiful Friday afternoon?
Happy Friday to you, Maggie. Thanks for joining us.
Feels like a party day when we see you, sister.
Hey, it is Friday, so let's do it. There's just been a little bit of news this week, right? Like just a smidge.
Just a smidge. Let's talk about the end of the threatening of mayors with jailing. Apparently, Robin Voss has ended the subpoenas, the arrest warrants. What were they exactly? The lawsuits leveled by the Office of Corrupted Special Counsel, former Office of Corrupted Special Counsel, Michael Gableman. Maggie, do you have any opinion on Robin Voss's actions today?
The level of just the lack of any sort of moral clarity or legal clarity is just stunning. Gableman is an embarrassment to the legal profession and the Supreme Court, and forever will be a stain on our state and on our electoral processes. It'll be interesting to see what sorts out for Voss in the write-in campaign, won't it?
Yes, it will.
Stay tuned. May not be over yet, right?
I believe his name is Adam Steen doing the write-in.
Yes.
Maggie, let's not lose track of Gable. Gableman apparently is now working for the Thomas More Society. You know, they're sort of a righty law firm along the lines of with maybe slightly less, legal integrity, let's just say. I mean, if there's a slot right below Will, that's probably the Thomas More Society. But Gableman, should this man be able to practice law?
No, he should be disbarred. I mean, there's no question. Frankly, almost every single lawyer that filed any of the lawsuits should all be disbarred because they made knowing factual misrepresentations to the court on, other than a death penalty criminal case. I can't imagine anything more serious than lying about election fraud.
Explain that concept. I mean, Dom and I, this guy should be disbarred. That guy should be disbarred. It sounds hyperbolic when we say it. But Maggie, you're specifically talking about their actions as lawyers are outside of compliance with their profession, right?
Yeah. So the fundamental, I would say, 3 rules that you learn as a baby lawyer or when you take ethics courses for lawyers. And by the way, we're all required to pass basically it is a uniform national ethics test that is separate from a bar exam. Okay. They literally have a standalone test on lawyer ethics. Lawyer ethics get very complicated, but the 3 things that most lawyers can recite off the top of their head is don't take your client's money, don't sleep with your client. And then the third biggie, like top 3 things, right, is don't lie to the court. Don't misrepresent facts, don't misrepresent the law. The filing this past Monday by Trump's lawyers to the seeking a special master, riddled with lies, both about the law and about the facts. Those are instances that are not just sanctionable conduct, but the number, the seriousness, and the stakes really do speak to whether or not someone should be disbarred. You cannot attribute any of these things in any of the election cases or the genius squad of lawyers that filed for the special master. You cannot attribute that to being a bad lawyer, right? You simply can't. There's just too many factual misrepresentations. And of course, if you look at those factors, how many, the seriousness, those sorts of factors, it couldn't be more serious, like literally as serious as a heart attack. They need to go. We swear an oath. They violate that oath almost every day.
Would incompetence be a better defense at this point?
It's funny, right? Because that's the Sidney Powell defense to the Dominion lawsuits, right? It's like, oh, everybody knows that was just hyperbole. There's actually no Kraken, right? Like And there's a point at which that might have flown. But again, the frequency of the lie, the fact that they perpetuated the lie publicly, and then they wrote it in legal documents, right, in filings before a court to which we owe and swear on a Bible a duty of candor, which means get it right or don't say it. If you don't know if it's true, you better make damn sure that you tell the court that you don't know if it's true. And if you say that the case law says XYZ, it had better actually say that. And when you lie to a court repeatedly about the most serious matter affecting our democracy, you don't have the right to be a lawyer anymore. They absolutely should be disbarred. I'll share this with you. I was just talking to a colleague yesterday. He was complaining because a nut job wackadoodle client filed a complaint against him with the Office of Lawyer Regulation here in Wisconsin. And I said, oh, take heart, dear friend, particularly since I got into this very much more public role with Milwaukee County. I've probably had a dozen of them. And they are filed against me, right? These happen quite frequently. Clients, often when you're involved in litigation, these sorts of things are under incredible strain. They don't understand the legal process. And so they'll attribute malfeasance to a lawyer simply because they don't like the outcome. And sometimes clients are seriously mentally disturbed. And the OLR takes these investigations incredibly seriously. Every time one is filed, I get a request from the OLR. Do you want to respond? Do you want to do an oral interview? All of these kinds of things, no matter how ridiculous, right? Literally, I have had complaints filed by people I have never met because they just don't understand what government lawyers do, right? And I respond to those. Where are the investigations of these people? I'm befuddled. I'm confused. This man has no right to practice law anymore. He has given up that privilege. It is not a right. It is a privilege to practice law. And it is sort of one of the last bastions where, at least I thought at the onset of the Trump administration, there would be lawyers that might push the envelope a little bit. There's no envelope here, folks. Like, I don't even know where we are. It's like landing on planet Mars where you just invent things. If this is the practice of law, and I admit lawyers are not always held in the highest esteem, we're screwed. Lawyers are supposed to, again, the duty of candor. We swear an oath on a Bible to the Constitution of the United States and to our state constitutions in which we receive the privilege of practicing law, that we will tell the court the truth. When we sign our names to legal documents, these people are liars and they're eroding our democracy every day. If I can use a quick example, sure. The filing on Monday for the special master. I mean, this is my favorite thing. First of all, there's very little legal citation in it. It's basically a political document, like it's a media sort of press release almost. It says things like, Donald J. Trump is the clear frontrunner in the 2024 presidential primary. Yes, so what? Maybe. I don't care. It has nothing to do with this. But they cite the Nixon case twice in the brief. First of all, they cite to a specific page that doesn't actually exist in the case, which I find hilarious. And the statement that they cited for is this: the Supreme Court has held that documents reflecting communications between a president and top advisors are presumptively privileged. Yeah. But the Nixon case was about when does the privilege stop? And the Nixon case concluded when there's a criminal investigation. Like, they conveniently leave that part out, right? And that's what this entire subpoena and search warrant was all about. And I have not quite got through the 38 pages of the affidavit yet. I've got it in front of me. But, you know, like I got to the first paragraph 39, that says what we all knew the case to be. The National Archives on May 6, 2021, made a request for the missing PRA records, Presidential Records Act, PRA records, and continued to make requests until approximately late December 2021, when the National Archives were informed 12 boxes were found and ready for retrieval at the premises. It goes on, right? And what they end up saying is basically, we've been asking for this stuff since the man left office. He's been giving it to us, sort of, and then basically told us to go kick rocks. So our only option was to show up at his house and take the stuff back. This is an insanity. And what these lawyers did in the special master pleading, I mean, I could spend an hour and a half talking about why it's procedurally infirm, because you don't just go around the magistrate judge and go to a different judge and ask. They're liars. They're liars that misrepresent the law.
And
all of them disbar, every single one of them.
Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel. And this is what you get when you have lawyers that do this kind of thing for propaganda, for promotion, not for legal reasons, right? And as you mentioned, those folks are still practicing law. Well, they got away with it. And this is exactly how Trump does it. This is not a legal filing. This is a PR memo. This is for him to go out and grift and raise some money. But this is not, was this even filed in the proper court?
No. It's just, you look at, okay, so here's the actual affidavit that is in the criminal case, right? And it has the correct criminal case number on it. It's the Southern District of Florida. So the request for the special master, yes, they got the Southern District of Florida right, but they had them create a new case number. And of course, the interesting thing is that they know the right case, because on page 4 and 6 and 12, they put the criminal case number. There are magistrate judges that handle these matters for a reason, and the entire federal court system will blow up if this sort of workaround is permitted. We will not be able to have cases proceed efficiently or effectively in our federal court system. So, as you point out, procedurally completely infirm, but the real problem is, even if you got that right, you just light this pile of horse manure on fire, because that's what it is.
She is Maggie Dawn, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel. She is our special master. She'll come back. More Devil's Advocates, the Friday edition. You're listening right now.
Is that a faucet running? That's not a faucet. That's a river rushing through the forest. Forest rivers provide over 100 million people with clean water to drink.
What? I can't hear you because of the vacuum.
That's not a vacuum. That's the trees in the forest cleaning up the air we breathe.
I didn't know the trees were so amazing.
Yep, and the forest gives us shade, trees to climb.
That's awesome. Let's go explore some more.
Visit the forest today and enjoy all it does, just for you. To learn more about the forest and find one near you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
President Trump lost the election. Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
The radio show your mother warned you about.
Actual tyranny of a dictator. Dictator's going to dictate Putin. And what did Trump do? Trump kneeled to the man, embarrassing Republicans. And you're still with the guy? This is your front runner in 2024? You've been smoking some of Mike Lindell's crack. What are you thinking?
They're the GCCCP. We are the Devil's Advocates.
Live weekday afternoons from 3 to 6.
Live concerts. Getting back to the moments we miss starts with getting informed. Get the latest info about COVID-19 vaccines at getvaccineanswers.org. It's up to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
60% of the time, they're right every time. The Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Be sure to check us out on the socials, on Twitter at Devil Radio, of course, on Facebook at the Devil's Advocates Radio. Join us on the phones at 844-967-2789.
And Dominic, we've got a very special guest. She is award-winning talk show host, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel, Maggie Dawn. I wish she still did a talk show around here, but always appreciate you coming around, Maggie. And, sometimes I just think we should defer to the experts. What is the glaring, breakingest legal story of the week, if you will, Maggie.
Yeah, it's what happened in the last hour. Again, just during break, I continue to read through the released affidavit, the majority of which is in fact redacted. The paragraphs that aren't tell us basically everything we need to know. There's the one that I just referenced that basically said the archives had been asking for these materials for quite some time. It goes on, and then it brings us a little bit more up to date about the 15 boxes that Donald J. Trump actually did turn over to the archives. In May, FBI agents conducted a, quote, preliminary review of the 15 boxes provided to the National Archives. And here's what was in them: 184 unique documents bearing classification markings, including 67 documents marked confidential, 92 documents marked as secret, 25 documents marked as top secret. Further, the FBI agents observed markings reflecting the following compartmentalization, right? Which, when you have compartmentalized information, it means it's highly sensitive national security information that only a certain set of people can see. And effectively, it's referring to firewalls that are established in the government so that people don't end up seeing things that they shouldn't. And these various dissemination controls, I don't need to be a foreign policy or security expert to think some of these things sound a little scary. HCS, FISA. Wonder what that's about, like foreign intelligence security, it's, you know, something like that. Orcon and no foreign, like whatever that is, it scares the bejiggers out of me. I don't want it sitting around in our former president's, you know, storage area at their resort with people wandering around. Maggie, they go on. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Mike.
I'm dying to ask you a question.
Yes, please.
I have been telling Dom he's kind of blowing some of this stuff up, although we don't know the entire contents of, you know, their classified documents. They're not sharing, but I have called these paperwork crimes. But here's the deal: regardless of the type of crime it is, once you have executed that search warrant, and once you've seen the magistrate judge Reinhardt and said, I got probable cause, predicated on what was seized, at least in what's being reported, Maggie, there kind of has to be indictments now, doesn't there?
It's,
well, we got back the documents, all is forgiven.
So the one thing that came out within the last week and a half that I went, oh, holy cow, that's a big deal, was that the letter from a Trump lawyer to the National Archives, and I can't recall exactly, the DOJ, that said, we've given you everything.
Yeah.
Right? Which means one of two things. The lawyer's lying and they all knew that a crime had been committed, and like these lawyers are all part of a grand conspiracy. Or the president is lying and the former president has been covering it up. And that seems to be what all signals are pointing to. Here you go, paragraph 78 of the affidavit, as described above, evidence of the, quote, subject offenses, in all caps, has been stored in multiple locations on premises, meaning Mar-a-Lago. Here's what happened. The former president of the United States stole national security secrets. That is what has happened. It is as if he is working for a foreign government. One could call him a traitor of the highest order. There is no conceivable, reasonable explanation for why a former president would steal national security secrets. Their classification status doesn't matter. And oh, by the way, there's no classification magic wand, like, oop, they're now like magically declassified. None of this matters. If it was ever a national secret, and if it is a governmental document, it is owned by the United States. And as soon as the man exits office, he has no legal right to hold them. And in fact, retaining these documents is a very serious federal crime. This former president stole national security secrets. We can all hypothesize about what he would use them for. Putin seemed pretty helpful back in 2016. You know, the Clinton emails, that whole deal. I wonder what I could use to perhaps get old Vladdy to maybe help me out with 2024. Oh, wait, here's this box of really useful national security secrets. I wonder if Putin might be interested in those. I mean, right, we can wildly speculate, but the man has stolen national security secrets.
But he's got a legal opinion that claims He has the right to do this. The Judicial Watch's Attorney Fitton gave the former president this legal opinion. Oh, these are his documents, effectively. Now, does that give him a sense of plausible deniability? I mean, well, I'm just saying, if my lawyer gives me legal advice and says you've got the right to something, even if his legal advice is wrong, does that shield the client in any way?
No. So I have to explain this all the time to my clients in the government, right? Well, we don't like what you said, Maggie. I'll just go hire my own lawyer. I'm like, well, good luck with that, A. And B, you can find a lawyer to say almost anything, obviously, right? Simply because a lawyer says it doesn't mean or absolve you or is a magic wand that gives you immunity, right? Dear Mike and Don, please see below as I say that it is unlikely that you would be convicted of murder if blah, 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 blah. Well, if you go ahead and do it, it's not a defense to the crime. We'll be like, yeah, I killed a guy, but see, my lawyer here on page 3 says that it's okay. Like, no, that's not how it works.
Hey, are you sure that's not how it works? Because Dom and I have trial in October. We'll tell you about that off the air. Maggie Dawn, come back with us. The finest of guests. She's Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel. Maggie Dawn, she's a friend of ours. She used to do a Dawn of the Resistance right here. An award-winning talk show host. So Maggie, putting you on the spot. You got like 10 seconds to answer. When's your new radio show going to start?
Listen, if it keeps up like this, the material writes itself. I wouldn't even have to do any prep. I just read the legal documents. So any day now, Mike, any day.
Well, that'd be like us, minus the reading of the legal documents. Come back. More Devil's Advocates, more Maggie Dawn.
Friends don't let friends spread fake news. Make sure to follow Devil Radio on Facebook and Twitter and stay up to date with the most important stories of the day.
Dark Horse Art Bar is Madison's newest live music venue and art gallery. Check out these events at the Dark Horse. Sunday, August 21st is Lee Brains with Gloria Fires. Tuesday, August 23rd is Two Johns and a Nancy. Thursday, August 25th is Nate Ming and the Stolen Sea. And Friday, August 26th, it's Jason Vargas and the Apollos. Dark Horse Art Bar, 756 East Washington Avenue in downtown Madison. Online at darkhorsemadison.com.
Over the past 30 years, Chad's Design Build has grown and improved how we do things, but we've never lost sight of our commitment to be a great place to work, focused on quality renovations for outstanding clients. Paying a living wage and providing excellent benefits to promote work-life balance does in fact attract outstanding people, which helps to explain our stellar reputation. Thank you, Madison, for 30 amazing years, building a better world one remodeled home at a time. This is Chad Spate for Chad's Design Build.
I'm Ben Thomas with an AP News Minute. An FBI affidavit released today states of the 15 boxes agents recovered from former President Trump's Florida estate early this year, 14 contained classified documents, many of them top secret, mixed in with newspapers, magazines, and personal correspondence. The AP's Eric Tucker.
There is information that they found that relates to information gleaned from confidential human sources. So that's something that the government obviously tries to protect very assiduously. And so the discovery of that in January was clearly alarming to the FBI.
The Commerce Department report shows inflation throttled back a little in July to 6.3%, but Fed Chair Jerome Powell says,
while the lower inflation readings for July are certainly welcome, a single month's improvement falls far short of what the committee will need to see before we are confident that inflation is moving down.
He indicated the Fed will continue raising interest rates to tame inflation. That sent stocks tumbling on Wall Street, the Dow, S&P, and the NASDAQ all up 3% or more. I'm Ben.
We tried Dynovite nutritional supplement, and after a couple of weeks, we noticed a big difference. Our little Gizmo's coat was shinier, and there was a lot less scratching and shedding.
My dog smelled and scratched constantly. We bathed and sprayed her, took her to the vet, but no results. Now, a little Dynovite in her food helps Bella keep her beautiful coat with no scratching or smell.
Happier, healthier with every bite. Over 1 million pets helped with Dynovite.
What if you could refinance your mortgage without adding years to your loan, potentially saving up to $1,000 a month? Believe it or not, it's possible when you call American Financing, America's home for home loans. Learn about custom loans that fit your budget better without paying upfront or hidden fees. Call 866-886-2026. That's 866-886-2026 or visit AmericanFinancing.net. NMLS 182334. NMLS ConsumerAccess.org.
From Up North News, I'm Pat Kreitlow. If you've been lying low with a post-primary hangover, Brad Pfaff's got a message to share. Break's over. Game on. The Democratic candidate in the 3rd District met up with Democratic Congressman from the 2nd District, Mark Pocan, to outline the ways Republican nominee Derek Van Orden has behaved on a scale ranging from extreme to disqualified. The incidents include his presence at the U.S. Capitol January 6th, an epic temper tantrum at a local library over a Pride Month display, doubting the story of a young Ohio girl who was raped and needing abortion care, and trying to bring a loaded handgun onto an airplane, for which he's still on probation. Van Orden's response was to take a shot at trans women competing in sports. And the Racine County man who illegally obtained absentee ballots on behalf of other people says the State Department of Justice has subpoenaed him. We have these stories in our newsletter. To get signed up for it, go to upnorthnewswi.com, hit newsletter in the top banner.
The Devil's Advocates. Never personal, only politics.
Come on, dude. We got enough.
I intend to from you.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. It's the Friday edition. I got some problems.
You got some grievances, Curdy?
Yeah, I might. We got some good guests today. Fine guests, great guest, excellent guest. That is not a grievance of mine. And she is stuck around. Maggie Dawn, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel, friend of ours. Maggie, if you don't mind, gotta ask you about some politics, counselor. I don't think I've seen you since the primary happened here in the great state of Wisconsin. First and foremost, let's talk about Tim Michels. He has taken the position with 12% of Wisconsinites that abortion should be illegal in all cases, including in the cases of rape and incest. That's his stated position. And above and beyond that, he's, after being shamed a little bit, he's all down for the Trump endorsement. He's still the Trump candidate. I think the Cap Times said yesterday, a vote for Tim Michelson is a vote for Donald Trump. I thought we'd move beyond Trump, but apparently not, sister.
Yeah. My favorite thing is when rich dudes run for office. No qualifications, no concept of how government works, just a endorsement from the worst president in U.S. history, who now is perhaps a foreign agent. Who knows? TBD. Michels is really horrifying, isn't he? I mean, like, only a rich white dude would be able to make an argument that there should be no rape or incest exception. Like, that must be a really great place that you're in. That the people that you love never have to ever worry about that. That is a blissful state here on planet Earth, where you actually know people who have been raped and have been sexually abused by members of their family. Here on planet Earth, where life is messy and really terrible things happen to people. Yeah, us actual earthlings, we don't have that privilege, Mr. Michels, who inherited a business from his family. These aren't bootstrapped people, nor was Donald Trump. No wonder, birds of a feather and all that thing, right? The repugnancy of that position is self-evident. I truly hope that no one in Mr. Michels' family ever is raped or is the victim of incest. But my fear is that absent that, he will never gain the insight or the humility to understand that these are not his decisions to make. Respectfully, if you don't have a uterus, I suggest you butt the heck out of this argument. It is not a decision for you to make. Tupac Shakur got this right? 20 years ago, The man never went to college. Tim Michels, all of the advantages in the world. You do not get to tell women what to do with their bodies. He is an absolute repulsive beast. And I hope that Evers runs on abortion. Please, can we, for once, have Democrats that run on abortion? Abortion is a human right. It is health care. Period. End of discussion. There is no other need to debate this. If you and your religion and your God need to make different decisions, that's between you and your God. But that is not for the US government or a state government to decide. It is, the man literally physically disgusts me. And again, so does Donald Trump. No wonder they're buddies. I mean, that's what he's going to run on is the Trump endorsement. And I hope those suburban white women that handed Donald Trump our state in 2016 get wise and don't abrogate their own independent judgment to that of their Waukesha, Ozaukee, Walworth, and Collier County husbands. You have a brain, ladies, between your ears. I suggest you use it.
So I'm going to put you down for a maybe for the Michels vote.
Yeah, I think that's the takeaway. Yeah, I think it's a fair summary.
Let's talk about the other big race. Obviously, the Democrats sort of galvanized around Mandela Barnes, and the incumbent U.S. Senator from Wisconsin, Ron Johnson's been something of a target around here for a while. But Maggie, want to get your opinion now that we've got a head-to-head race, mano a mano. How do you think Mandela will do? Right now, he's up in the polling.
We shall see. I think it's going to be interesting to come how this all comes together. I want to see him on a debate stage. I really want to see how they handle that. Oh, and who are we talking about again? Oh yeah, another old rich white guy who basically didn't earn his money. I think I'm detecting a theme here. Wisconsin deserves someone that actually understands middle class issues, who doesn't think that he should be telling women what to do with their bodies. We deserve someone who is as humble as Mandela. I love it when people, oh, well, the guy didn't pay his taxes and he had debt and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, he's a human being. He understands the issues that face the middle class better than Ron Johnson, Tim Michels, Rebecca Clayfish, Robin Voss, and all the rest of them combined. This is what we need. We need a person who looks, feels, and does represent us. And I think a return to true Wisconsin values that is not blind allegiance to an orange idiot who is potentially one of the worst traitors our democracy has ever seen. That's what we deserve. I hope Mandela takes a debate stage. I hope Ron's hubris actually tells him he can beat him on a debate stage, because that's going to be fun. And let's see him go toe to toe. I think Mandela can take Ron to the cleaners. Oh, by the way, if any of Mandela's advisors are listening, I'll be looking for a chief of staff job right after that Senate election. I think it'd be pretty good. Economist, lawyer, good political sense. If you think of anybody that might fit that bill, just let Mandela's people know, will you?
Folks, she is economist, lawyer, award-winning talk show host, and most importantly, friend of the Devil's Advocate. She's Maggie Dawn. We appreciate you coming around, talking a little politics with us. While both Mandela, by about 7 points in the market polling over Ron Johnson, is ahead, and also Evers by a more modest margin, depending on whether you go by the numbers or by Tim Michels' gut. But who's trailing in the third CD? And we're playing out there now. We now have outlets playing in the third CD here in the civic media lineup. Brad Pfaff is currently trailing Derek Van Orden, and depending on whose polling you believe, it's either, outside the margin of error or like 7 that Pfaff trails the insurrectionist Derek Van Orden by. So, sister, what are we missing over there in the swingy third?
I think we gotta, put some IQ points in the water or something. Like, what are people thinking? Come on, this is like the insurrectionist oath keeper who's now going to likely become, potentially, the Secretary of State in Arizona. Like, hate liberals, go ahead, fine. Think what you want, be a conservative. But please try to use the little gray things between your ears again. Like, this is not okay. Someone who is an insurrectionist, who wants to dismantle our federal government, who believes in the wackadoo conspiracy theories, is not fit to serve. Find a different conservative. Hold your nose, get through electing Brad Pfaff, and then move on. Like, just get a better candidate. It's like who's the weirdo that's running against Voss? I mean, literally, there is no bottom. One of the interesting analogies that I'll make, and people will hate this, right? I'm sorry, Mike, go ahead, hon.
I said I endorsed Adam Steen. I encouraged our audience to cross over and vote for Adam Steen, and I encourage those in the Mount Pleasant area to do so again in the fall and write in Adam Steen.
Yeah, it's a little bit of strategery there, right? One of the more interesting analogies, and it's a strained one, right? It is a strained analogy, and people are going to get their undies all in a twist about this, is that I love talking to conservatives who are big foreign policy hawks, because I'll take them down the rabbit hole. Like, let's talk about how to fight terrorism, right? And one of the lines that you'll hear all the time from them is, we need to take the battle to them. We are fighting an enemy that knows no rules. How do we abide by the Geneva Conventions when they'll kill women and children indiscriminately, use chemical weapons, yada, yada, yada? Does this sound like the contours of the GOP and Democrats right now? We fight according to rules. We respect the rule of law. Republicans don't. There's no lie that is too big to be told, no rule or law that cannot be broken. There is no bottom. There's no depth to their depravity. And I have always resisted this idea that Democrats should completely abandon our allegiance to the truth and facts and reality. We have to be able to defeat them through better argument, right? I am a little bit sick of taking a knife to a gunfight, but let's really dismantle these falsehoods. Let's show them the emperor has no clothes. This man is unfit to serve. Frankly, I think most of them probably need to get a little psychological evaluation, because they're nuts. You're either a sociopath, an idiot, or you are seriously psychologically disturbed. Any one of the three, maybe door number 4, all of the above. You cannot serve. You cannot be an elected representative. You are constitutionally unfit.
Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Maggie Dawn, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel, friend of ours, joining us. Maggie, happy Friday. Thank you for doing so once again. Briefly back to the abortion issue, Roe v. Wade. If you look at some of the elections, a special election in New York. Lions, yes, ran, pro-abortion. There was Kansas had a state referendum, right? So these things seem to be, becoming a practical, logical headwind for the GOP, and this is something that a lot of people probably predicted, and it seems like it might be coming to fruition right now. Meg, you want to get a couple of questions for you. One, what's your sense of that trend continuing? And two, what are men? What are your friends? What are we supposed to do? How should we represent our sisters and mothers and daughters in this abortion discussion?
Yeah, wow, that's a lot, right? I think at root is you must respect the autonomy of women, and that women will make the best decisions. There's no other ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, I could quote you chapter and verse about the studies that have been done that show that in countries that have greater laws that respect women's autonomy, specifically as it comes to reproductive rights, that guarantee access to contraceptions, free and safe abortion on demand, those countries have higher GDPs, higher GDP growth, greater overall health, lower infant mortality rates, higher life expectancies. I could go on and on. Facts don't matter to these people. And so I think to ask men, and I've had these discussions with many male friends of mine, please have the strength to speak up when you hear other men denigrating a woman's right to bodily autonomy, When you hear women being sexually harassed, stop it, say something, right? Like, we need you. We need allies to help drive this message home. Don't let your idiot knuckle dragger, cousin, uncle, friend spout off about what he does not know or understand. As I like to say, he who hath no uterus on this should shutteth the up, right? Like, that is the point. Please be with us as we try to win what is a fundamental healthcare access right.
1 minute left in this segment, Maggie. As these referendums and elections go through, is this becoming the issue? Is this going to help Democrats? Looks like, registration for women in some of these states are far outpacing new registration for men. This is a great sign? Yes.
Yes, and keep at it. Run on it. Run on it, run on it. Make it the issue, make it the only issue until we take back our state houses, our governor's mansions, and the federal government. The other issue we need to be running on just as heartily is voting rights. It is because of the erosion of voting rights and ridiculous gerrymandering that we have found ourselves in this position where women are now uniformly second-class citizens.
Maggie Dawn, our fine guest, stick around one last segment of the Devil's Advocates. Perhaps your calls as well. 844-96-PARTY.
Being a father is an honor, a challenge, a duty, a celebration, and a testimony. I want to be legendary for you because I found everything to live for.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Saturday workouts.
Hey, girl. Hey, what's up? You almost done? About 2 minutes or so. Meet you outside.
Then brunch.
See you there.
Getting back to the moments we miss starts with getting informed. Get the latest info about COVID-19 vaccines at getvaccineanswers.org. It's up to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
Matt from Mount World. Welcome, Matt. What do you got for us?
I don't get these people, man. All these teachers are groomers and pedophiles. We need them armed to the teeth. The only way.
Right.
I mean, is your name Jeffrey Lebowski? Because your mind is limber.
Oh,
appreciate you listening.
That's a great point, though. Yes, the teachers, they're the ones doing the indoctrination, right? The teachers are the ones that are woke. Give them guns.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
Hi, folks. This is Kirk Bankstad at the Minocqua Brewing Company, and I am proud to introduce you to Choice, our new pink grapefruit-flavored hard seltzer. Choice was made in collaboration with Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin, and 5% of the proceeds from every can goes to support them and their fight for reproductive freedom. Choice Hard Seltzer tastes great and comes in at only 105 calories per can. Go to our website, MinocquaBrewingCompany.com, to find where you can buy Choice Hard Seltzer.
My Shiro always goes the extra mile, stretches every dollar, puts others first. But now it's your time, Mom. Get free tips to help boost your retirement savings now at aceyourretirement.org.
Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates. Never personal, only politics.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Happy Friday to us all, the last segment of the day. If you got something to say, give us a call at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, I'm very, very excited because high school football has kicked off, and it's kicking off on the Shaw in about half an hour and all across the Civic Media Network. But we got a fine guest. She's sticking around. She is Maggie Dawn. An exceptional guest. She is our good friend and, of course, Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel. And Maggie, we got people that want a piece of you. Do you mind if we take some phone calls, Maggie?
Go for it.
All right. Well, we're going to load them up, starting with Joanne from Madison. Joanne, say hi to Maggie Dawn.
Hello, and please start your own talk show. You're fantastic. And I'm really energized, and I'm so energized, I'm thinking, hey, let's push toward child care. I remember a couple of years ago, those magic words started materializing at all these political forums, and all of a sudden it dropped out. Can we push that far? Can we get some real child care in this country? And thank you so much for taking my call.
Heck yes, Joanne. So good. Thank you for the kind words. I'll tell you this. Here's another tension point. You want to oppose abortion, but you won't support universal child care. You won't make child care affordable, and you won't guarantee health care for children. What are you even talking about? It's like the care for a child, as they would allege, for a fetus, for a baby, for a potential life stops at the vaginal walls. Like, that's it. Now somebody else's problem. My parents, who were very pro-life for many years, I'll never forget this moment. They had a pro-life bumper sticker on their car. By the way, they aren't anymore. I asked them why. Well, we figured out that we may not have the bat phone to God, and we should probably be a little bit humble about how we legislate religion in this country. But I digress. They came out of a restaurant. They had a pro-life bumper sticker on their car. Somebody had written on it, "Are you going to adopt the baby? And if not, will you pay for that child's every need until they are able and ready to enter the job and workforce?" And my dad looked at it and went, well, that's an actually good point, right? And it always should be, yes, Joanne, let's argue for childcare as well.
Well said, Maggie Dawn, our fine guest. Your phone calls could be next. 844-967-2789. A patient CJ, the good one from Beaver Dam. CJ, say hi to Maggie Dawn.
Hey, CJ.
Hi, Maggie Dawn. I'm waiting for your radio show as well.
Thank you, my friend.
The only things I'm going to do is make your toes curl up. Is NDI, is National Defense Information, also in that document. No foreign actually stands for no foreign nationals. That's not including Canadians or United Kingdom. No foreign nationals are able to see that document. So that's how detrimental, actually how high-priced these materials are.
It is scary. Listen, CJ, the last man that made my toe curl was a few minutes ago. So thank you for this Friday afternoon toe curl. Yeah, that's scary, isn't it? That scares the bejiggers out of you, doesn't it? Dang.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for the toe curl.
But let's before, I know we have other callers, 844-967-2789. Maggie, that's the point. I know, Crudy, we bust chops here. These are paper crime. This is kind of a big deal. And these are, 700 pages to my last count and hundreds of documents. So I've seen, different numbers thrown around. But either way, it's unprecedented, not in just the fact that, the FBI raided him, the fact that he had these documents on his person in his closet.
100%, even if you take the absolute most benign interpretation, right? That, oh, geez, he's just, does anybody really doubt that Donald Trump is probably like a weird hoarder and has like leftover dishes like under his bed? I digress. But even the most benign interpretation, right? That he just mistakenly took these things. Run this out. They asked him again, please go through your stuff. When the National Archives got the documents, it was like, there's, super top secret, no for, and then, some pictures of like him and his daughter that he wants to date. I mean, all mixed in together, right? They keep asking for it. He doesn't produce it. What happens to this stuff? Like, if this is national security secret, well, okay, let's just call it declassified. It's still not his property. What happens if, a foreign government sends, these people called spies? And because that didn't happen before, right? Like there weren't spies lurking around with Trump affiliates, right?
Spies?
Right.
We call dues-paying members at Mar-a-Lago.
Oh yes, that other category, and they're just walking around, rooting through stuff. I mean, that's the most benign. This is beyond the pale. Everyone should be extraordinarily frightened that this was permitted to happen. And again, here's a norm that this guy blew out of the water. And that the norm was that exiting presidents were effectively allowed, and they were given support staff to help them do these things, right? To like transition out of the White House. It has to happen really quickly, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, here's another thing that we have to now legislate. You can't let former presidents do this. We have to have a special team come in and do it because you can't trust them to do this correctly anymore. It's absolute insanity. Again, there is no bottom.
Mark from the Sac, say hi to Maggie Dawn, a very patient Mark.
Hey, Mark.
No problem, guys, and thanks to my golden goddess again that I used to call in her program all the time. That Maggie brought it up again. Even the most benign of those documents, Trump still should not have had. It was still a crime for him to remove them from the White House. I mean, I'm tired of this crap of him saying, "Oh, the president can't be charged with the crime." Look at Bill Clinton. They were investigating Bill Clinton for activities outside of the White House, the whole Whitewater thing, but they asked him questions about what he did in the White House, and of course they came up with Monica Lewinsky and charged him with, and impeached him over that. I mean,
but that was a crime of the flesh.
Mark, man, thank you. We got other callers holding, but thank you for bringing that up. And wasn't it such a quaint and innocent time in America back then? Thanks for the call. Maggie, let's get one more in. Dick from Madison, you will have the last word with Maggie Dawn.
Well, you know what their tact is now on this whole thing. Well, if this was so egregious, why didn't you do something sooner? Well, they tried to for months, and he kept stonewalling, but now they're actually going to go with that, from what I've heard. Well, if this was so horrible, why didn't you do something a long time ago? Well, I just don't get that one, but they're floating that one already.
It was a crime, but you just waited too long. There's no statute of limitations on being a traitor to the country, okay? They asked again, they asked really nicely, they asked firmly, they asked a different way, they had the archives asked them, the DOJ asked. I mean, the guy wasn't cooperating, and as soon as it became abundantly clear that they were never going to get the stuff, that's when they went over and took it from him. It was a crime, but it was, they should have raided him earlier. It's insane. Like, you think the raid is a problem now, but it wouldn't be a problem before? What the hell? It makes no sense.
Maggie Dawn, open invitation anytime you want a radio show. It's your sister. Thank you to our fine earlier guest, James Santel. He's got a radio show. Now stick around. Native Roots Radio right up to Black Shirts Football. West Allis, hail the opponent.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
If you think you need a home inspection, you probably do. Hi, I'm Todd Osborne of Orion Inspections. And buyers, sellers, and even flippers, I'm talking to you. Knowledge is power when it comes to real estate transactions. You'll get an image-packed, searchable, digital, printable report of the condition of the house, things to keep an eye on, any safety issues or defects, and the knowledge to make smart, informed decisions. Your instinct is telling you to get an inspection, and instincts are usually right. Learn more or schedule today at orioninspections.com.
Listen to the Empowered Caregiver Show each Saturday and Sunday morning at 8 a.m. with hosts Liza Hellenbrand and Kristen Voss.
Right here on Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus, W224 EG Madison, always streaming on the
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. The affidavit explaining the Justice Department's justification for an FBI search of Donald Trump's Florida estate has been released.
In the partially blacked out affidavit, the FBI says 14 of the 15 boxes taken from Mar-a-Lago earlier this year had classified records. They included 25 documents marked top secret. Even with many redactions, the documents the most substantial description yet of the probe and revealed FBI concerns that records were being kept illegally at Mar-a-Lago. The Justice Department removed sensitive details to protect witnesses and to avoid revealing sensitive investigative tactics. Sagar Magani, Washington.
Authorities have begun distributing iodine tablets to residents near Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in case of a radiation leak. In his nightly address, President Vladimir Zelensky calls the situation precarious with ongoing fighting in the area. Yesterday, the plant was temporarily knocked offline. Federal Reserve Board Chair Jerome Powell says the central bank is squarely focused on fighting inflation.
Restoring price stability will take some time and requires using our tools forcefully to bring demand and supply into better balance. Reducing inflation is likely to require a sustained period of below-trend growth.
The message landed with a thud on Wall Street, sending the Dow down more than 1,000 points. The S&P lost 3.4%, the Nasdaq 3.9%. Lisa Dwyer reports there's a guilty plea in a California oil spill case.
Houston-based Amplify Energy and 2 subsidiaries agreed to plead guilty to a misdemeanor and pay a $7 million fine and nearly $6 million in costs. The October 2021 leak in a pipeline that ferried crude oil from offshore platforms to the Southern California coast spilled about 25,000 gallons of crude into the ocean.
This is AP News.
For eligible individuals, 18 and older only. Results vary. Audio effects do not simulate actual hearing aid experience. See website for details and important safety information.
How are your hearing aids sounding now?
A little tinny.
Okay, 2 seconds.
With hearing aids from Lively, everything is done remotely in the comfort of your home, from initial testing to adjustments.
How are they sounding now?
Fantastic. With Lively, you get premium Bluetooth-enabled hearing aids at thousands less than you might expect. Advanced hearing aid technology is now affordable and convenient. Your hearing aids are sent right to your door. And if you have any issues, we'll make adjustments 7 days a week for 3 years. No charge. Oh, you people at Lively are wonderful. With Lively hearing aids, you get free shipping, 3 years of follow-up care included free, plus a 3-year warranty with loss and damage coverage. You can't lose. I hear better than I ever thought possible. And now through Labor Day, get $300 off all rechargeable hearing aid models. Just go to listenlively.com. That's listenlively.com. listenlively.com.
Hi, this is Robert Pilot. How do you use your energy? Alliant Energy has ideas to jumpstart your spring cleaning. A great place to start is by checking your detectors: carbon monoxide, natural gas, and smoke detectors. Replace your batteries and then test to make sure that they work by pressing and holding the test button. You should hear an ear-piercing alarm. Alliant Energy is a proud sponsor of Native Roots Radio. For more spring cleaning tips, visit AlliantEnergy.com.
Devil Radio has been kicking ass, earning every listener, and providing our sponsors return on investment 3 years now on the Madison airwaves. And there has never been a better time than right now to advertise with us and join the Devil Radio community. Our audience is loyal and growing every day. Active listeners that don't flip. Wonder if your ad dollars are working? Devil Radio listeners will tell you it works. Ad production is included. Devil Radio will make it easy for you to start seeing return on your investment. Call today.
Hi, everyone. Listen to the Matt McNeil Show weekday afternoons at 3 p.m. on Devil Radio 92.7 and WTTN 1580 AM. 1 hour every weekday where we'll talk about all sorts of things like politics, especially with what's going on right now, plus other things too. Parenting, the arts, religion, music, beer. If it matters to Wisconsin and Minnesota, we'll talk about it. Phone calls are welcome at 952-946-6205. For 1 hour each day, come see the trained chimp, the Matt McNeil Show, 3 p.m. weekday afternoons right here on Devil Radio 92.7 and WTTN 1580 AM.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
For Civic Media, I'm Jane Matnier with your headlines. For Wisconsinites living in rural parts of the state, waiting for an ambulance can take up to 45 minutes. WKBT reporting those wait times could get even longer. There's an EMS shortage around the state and the country, and because many rural first responders are volunteers, EMS educators say they're now working around their day jobs. The U.S. Department of Education estimating over 700,000 Wisconsin residents with outstanding federal student loans will be affected by President Biden's executive order this week, canceling $10,000 for all and up to $20,000 for some borrowers in certain cases. Monthly payments for current borrowers also capped at 5% of discretionary income. Partly cloudy today with a high 77, clear tonight, low 56. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM, WTTN 1580 AM.
Native Roots Radio is an independent product and has a joint sales agreement with Civic Media. Enjoy.
Gonna be Indians anyway?
they're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake. Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Kadagi to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio at the fair, the Minnesota State Fair, the big get-together here. We, Native issues, Wendy, are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
And this portion of the show is brought to you by Native Roots Trading Post at the Minnesota State Fair. This is day 2. We are in the West End Market, and we will be here through Monday, September 5th, and we're really excited to be here.
Hey, we got some news and trivia. The first part here with Ogama. She's she's in Red Lake right now, or Bemidji up north, and hopefully she'll come down to the fair soon. But we also have our daughter here, Jaleesa, who say hello.
Hey, Kadagi.
Hey, right on. Right on. We are just having a great energy here at the State Fair. A lot of, you guys, there's a lot of ho-chunks that are showing up here. It's crazy.
That was awesome.
Definitely. But before I get too involved here in my own chitter-chatter, why don't we get with the news here with Ogama that you don't hear anywhere else but other on this station and this show and the State Fair will be. Go ahead, Ogama, welcome.
Hi, Anim Bushu, everybody. I'm Ogama Ganuakwe, and I am not live from the State Fair. I'm live from central Minnesota, full of envy and a little bit of sadness that I'm not down there with you guys. But if you didn't know, I have a small baby at home, so we'll be coming up next week, a couple of days, and we'll be able to do the show live there next week. But I wanted to give you guys some news and some information on what's happening in and around Indian country. For all of us water protectors that are out there, I wanted to remind everybody that not this weekend, but next weekend, September 4th, at the Bayfront Festival Park in Duluth, Minnesota, is the Water is Life Festival, which is hosted by Winona LeDuc and benefits the Honor the Earth group. And the MC is going to be Thomas X. Headlining artists is Ani DeFranco, the Indian Girls, Allison Russell, plus great favorites like Kisa Kola, David Huckfeld, and more. Tickets are available at first-avenue.com. It is sponsored by The Current and First Avenue. And if you go to firstavenue.com and you look at tickets, if you enter the code Water Protector, you can get a special discount. If you are one of the nearly 1,000 people in the state of Minnesota who received a legal charge against you while working to protect Minnesota from the Line 3 pipeline, you will get free admission. So just make sure to bring proof of that charge with you when you go. And then children under 10 are free as well. It's an all ages show, so that's going to be really exciting as well. Robert and I will both be up there Sunday, September 4th at the Bayfront Festival Park in Duluth. We went live for the first annual Water is Life Festival last year as well. We're excited to go back and do that again, right, Robert?
Yeah, possible Wendy. We don't know yet, but maybe.
We'll see how the dogs are doing.
Yes.
That's fair. That's fair. Coming up next week, another really important event that's happening here in Minnesota is Leonard Peltier's Walk to Justice. The AIM Grand Governing Council is sponsoring a spiritual walk for the release of Leonard Peltier. The walk will go from Minneapolis, Minnesota to Washington, D.C., and will start September 1st and go until November 14th. There will be stops along the way in Eau Claire and Madison, Wisconsin, Chicago and South Bend, Indiana, Toledo and Cleveland, Ohio, Pittsburgh, and finally Washington, D.C. So all of our relatives who are on that trail for Leonard Peltier's Walk to Justice, September 1st through November 18th, make sure that you take a look around and get connected to your community. If you're going to join the walk for one day, join the walk in spirit, join the walk for a week, whatever you can do is going to be appreciated. Also hoping that next week, Wednesday, I believe it is next week, Thursday, we're hoping to get down and maybe do a little bit of coverage with this with Native Roots Radio as well. Robert, I think we need to be able to clone ourselves. What do you think?
Well, I know we need to clone Wendy because she's retired. Part of her's retired, but I haven't seen her retired. It's coming up to 2 years, Wendy, and I think I've seen you work harder physically at the state fair in the last 4 days.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But I like the physical labor. It feels good.
What do you think of your stepmom there?
She's amazing. What can I say?
Oh, good. We'll remember that during Christmas. Go ahead, Ogama.
No problem. So just wanted to let people know that was happening. And you know what? This is the first walk I think that AIM has done from Minnesota or Minneapolis to Washington, D.C. since the Trail of Broken Treaties in 1972. So kind of a big deal that's happening. Also wanted to touch base here too that we're at the Minnesota State Fair, and that is a super exciting event that's happening here for Native Roots Radio. But you're actually at the you're actually at the state fair under the Native Roots Trading Post, right? So that's what people need to look for when they're going to come find you.
That's right.
Awesome.
Native Roots Trading Post in the West End Market.
Oh.
Next to the teepee.
Next to the
blue teepee, yeah.
And the blue barn.
We don't want to give them advertising. They're busy all the time.
Another interesting thing that's coming up here, Robert, and I was kind of leaving this one because I was hoping we might have Senator Mary Kunish come on and talk because she's such a big advocate for education. But St. Paul Public Schools and the Board of Education approved a policy earlier this week to recognize smudging as a practice to support Native American students' social and emotional well-being. So community members gathered to talk about that, and I think that's a pretty big step forward for the St. Paul School District, right, Robert?
Well, to make it official, because the school that I worked at, we did it anyways. I had an all-native homeroom, and we were smudging continuously, but now at least you won't hear snide remarks from teachers like, oh, it smells like pot, and what's going on in your room, and kind of derogatory accusations. Now it's like right in the wheelhouse that they can do it. I did it anyways because what are they going to do? Fire me? My wife's rich. I can be fired.
That's fair. That's fair. Another really exciting thing that's coming up in the world of Emmys and those types of things, End of the Line, which was a documentary on the women of Standing Rock, is actually receiving an Emmy Award, is a nominee for an Emmy Award under the Outstanding Social Issue Documentary category. Excuse me. They're also, End of the Line also won the 2022 Best Broadcast Network or Cable Documentary Television Movie, was a runner-up for the 2022 Journalism Award, and was a nominee for the 2022 Humanitas Prize for Documentary. So that is one I haven't seen yet. Robert or Wendy or Jelaine, have you seen End of the Line yet?
Jaleesa.
Jaleesa. I'm sorry. For those of you who don't know, Robert has twin daughters, so please forgive me.
Yes, Jelaine was on yesterday, so but I haven't seen it.
No, I haven't either.
To answer your question,
No. Wendy.
So I got to figure out where we could stream that one because that one looks really good. If any of our listeners who are commenting online know where we could stream End of the Line, definitely give us a shout out so we can share with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then in the Land Back movement here in Minnesota, there was another really big win. The Fond du Lac Band is celebrating the return of sacred sites in northern Minnesota. They used to have a burial ground at the end of the Wisconsin Point, a peninsula that juts out into Lake Superior near Duluth. And about 100 years ago, they exhumed about 200 Ojibwe people from that burial ground and moved them to a different location at the St. Francis Cemetery on the mainland in Superior, Wisconsin. And those bodies were moved to clear a way for an iron ore dock and infrastructure that was later not built. So they were forced, there were people living on this land, there was a burial ground there, and these people were forced off of that land for a project for infrastructure that was never built about 100 years ago. And just this week, there was a celebration, and Superior's mayor, Jim Payne, signed over the deeds to both pieces of land to the Fond du Lac Band, which is a really, really big and beautiful ceremony that happens for those people to have their land back. So shout out to the Fond du Lac Band for land back and for getting the remains of their people transferred.
Hey, Beanie Gigi, let's go for a break. If you got any more news, we have to fill this up. I know you're going to have trivia. You're listening to Native Roots Radio at the fair. We'll be right back after this short break.
Stay with us.
Hey.
We are Alusa Nation.
I heard sex trafficking happens a lot in Indian country. What is that?
Here are some of the real reasons why sex trafficking happens in Indian country. Unequal gender roles that were forced on us by colonization. Communities don't have enough resources. Silence around domestic and sexual violence. Lack of attention and justice for missing and murdered Indigenous people. There's a lot of behavior that keeps our communities out of balance. These are just a few true reasons why Native communities are targeted by traffickers. When these acts of violence happen in our communities, it opens us all up for exploitation.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN 350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN 350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
J&S Bean Factory is a Native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Don't fall for vaccine misinformation. Local medical professionals are available to answer any of your questions. Initial shots and boosters are safe for people who are pregnant and even young children. Right now, vaccines are available for anyone over 6 months of age, while boosters are available for anyone over the age of 5. This message brought to you by the Native American Community Clinic. Find a vaccination site by calling 651-304-9986 or visit vaccineconnector.mn.gov.
Bonjour, I am Oshawashko Gijig. I'm from Red Lake Nation, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
This portion of the show is brought to you by MN 350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice.
Wow, a great organization here out of Minnesota. And where are we right now?
We are in Minnesota, and we are at the Minnesota State Fair in the West End Market, and we are Native Roots Trading Post. Just come on down and see the teepee. We're right next to the blue and red teepee.
Wow, yeah. And we have our daughter here, Jalisa. Introduce yourself in a good way.
Oh, hello, everybody. I'm Chashtrep Wakahawinga, Holy Eagle Woman. It's good to be here.
Good to be here, too. Before Wendy came, because Wendy was babysitting our little furry ones at home, Wendy came a little later because Wendy set up this beautiful, along with Jelaine, beautiful booth that we get compliments all the time. But Jalisa, it's been insane how many Native Americans have been showing up to our booth and Ho-Chunk Winnebagos.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
We were so excited to just connect with people, ask them their tribe, and just connect that way. It's been so great.
I heard you guys have been like giving discounts to these guys.
Oh, yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
We love to do it.
Wendy, what is your feeling? It seems like we're really, natives are invisible, but man, they're coming out here and they're coming out supporting this booth in particular, and they're all over us.
Yeah, I think when they find out that we're here and we have authentic Native American made jewelry, items, all kinds of merchandise, they want to come and support us and support the artists who are, that their art is showcased here in our booth. So they really want to come and take a look at it. I mean, there's items in here that took hours and hours and hours to make. Like, for instance, a beaded necklace.
Yeah.
These beads are teeny tiny if you see them, and the detail and it's so intricate. To make this. It's just hours and hours of labor intensive art. And we have it here, and you could come and see it. It's really just beautiful to look at. So
we asked her sister yesterday, Wendy, what is your favorite thing to do at the fair? So why don't we ask Jaleesa the same thing?
Oh, wow. So many things. I mean, I just like walking around and seeing everything. In terms of the glass blowing,
I talked about that's funny. I talked about that yesterday.
You got me on that. So I love watching the live skateboarding.
Oh, they're not here anymore.
Yep, they're here. They just have a booth. So hopefully next year they'll get the ramp back. But I like obviously trying the food and just different things.
What's your favorite food? Tell Wendy.
Oh, I'm guilty on this one.
Wendy?
I crave. Sorry, Wendy, the Prano Pump every year. I'm sorry. But I do like the corn too, and lots of other things.
Yeah.
And you had the pickles today too.
We did have the deep fried pickles.
Those are vegan, Wendy.
Yeah, no, I eat those. Those are delicious. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Oh, wow. Wow. So again, Ed, what I just want to jump in. What I've really enjoyed too is all the people that have come up to us and heard us on this station and all around Turtle Island on our Facebook Live and in Wisconsin and Devil Radio and the Washoe, the whole civic network coming in here and saying, hey, I just wanted to come and say hello. Mm-hmm. And then I go, well, buy something then. No, I said, no, hello, but it's been really exciting and it's been constant all day, hasn't it, you guys?
It really has been. It's been great. It's so fun just meeting people and talking with them and finding out where they're from. And yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, and just being able to say these are all authentic, a lot of Minnesota native made things. It's such an honor to be able to do that and just have such an authentic store.
Wow, well said. Well said. Hey, I got to just say this, Wendy, when we first started the show, this is like a reunion right now. All we need is Uncle Curtis said he was coming down to the fair too, but we haven't seen him.
Yeah, hopefully he'll make it here. Yes.
Then it'll be the original Dream Team, right?
That's right. The original Dream Team.
Do you remember when we didn't have any commercials, so we just did live reads, which just meant that we were on the whole hour and could say anything when we were sweating. And do you remember what we talked about our first show?
I do. I remember. I remember what happened. Do you want me to tell you that?
Yes.
Tell that story really quick?
Yeah.
Okay.
I need to remember this.
So our very first show, of course, we're all nervous. We've never been on the radio before. We did have a little bit of practice time, but, it's not like the real thing. We had a couple of guests that were lined up to be on the show with us. And at the last minute, something happened and they both had emergencies and they could not make the show. So there we were, not knowing what we were doing without the guests, and we all freaked out. And we were all sitting around the table with the microphones and the headphones on our ears. About to go live with our mouths open, and we're sweating at our brow. And you know what we did? We talked. We all were at Standing Rock. We were all there, and we all talked about our experience in Standing Rock, and we filled up the whole hour, and it was great. It was a great first show.
It was.
But we did panic up until the 0 hour.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Well, do you remember Uncle Curtis came to pray with us?
Oh, that's
Tell that story. Tell that story.
So Uncle Curtis came and he was just going to say a prayer for us and Smudge and bless us all for having a good show. A good show. But since our two guests didn't show up, I said to Robert, we're not going to tell Uncle Curtis until the very last minute, but we're going to put him in a chair and put a microphone in front of him and put the headsets on and make sure he's going to go. And we can't tell him beforehand because we don't want him to get nervous. So that's what he did.
What does our elder think was the segment? And he was on for a couple years after that.
He sure was, yes.
And when we were at the studio in Eden Prairie, we'd smudge off on every show.
Yep.
I missed that.
Exactly.
That was great.
So that's our beginning.
And every Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah.
And miss him too. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So that was our first show, and that's how it's all got started.
And do you remember what was really funny too? Because even now, especially we have commercial breaks, take the headphones off. Wendy tells me what to do, and then we put our headphones on. We didn't have that because you were doing live reads.
Yes.
On neighborhood stuff, so we couldn't even talk during those 2-minute breaks.
We couldn't even sneeze.
Yep. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Look at how far you guys have come.
Oh, I know.
It's amazing.
And then we have resist shirts here too for discount. I don't think you'd say prices, so we have.
Oh, we can't say the prices. It's a state fair special. Our black and white resist shirts. It has our logo, radio logo on the back, and they are here. And it's a state fair special. So
we're selling a lot.
And it's one of the favorites, anyways. And yep, that's the state fair special.
Yeah.
Come on down to the booth and ask for a state fair special.
You know, it's really funny too. State Senator Mary Kunesh is in flight, so she won't be able to make it. But it's hard to see the politicians because they're coming and going. But what's is really interesting, I just want to mention, is the plane that's flying over.
Yeah.
It's like, is that all they got? Is that all these?
Right. So there's a little putsy plane going around the fair, and it's got a big banner on the back of it, and it says Walls failed. Now, those of you who don't know who Walls is, who listening in Chicago and Wisconsin and elsewhere, Tim Walz is our Minnesota state governor, and a lot of, I guess, the opposition feel that he failed, and they're spending all their money on this putsy little plane going around and around and around, and it says Walz failed. We support Tim Walz, and we're a little bit upset about this plane going around and around, but that's okay. We'll have to see what happens.
Absolutely.
About that. Yeah. So everybody has to get out there, register if you're not registered already, and get out there and vote. We need to vote. We need to get everybody out there. We need a blue wave over Minnesota and elsewhere in the United States.
Yes. Vote and, educate everybody else and get everybody to vote.
Yes, we do. Last year, and we're doing it again, called Rock the Vote Native Style. It's going to be happening on Tuesdays. Over 9,000 Native American people were registered to vote for the very first time in our last election. So that really helped out.
Well, it'll be more. And I've always said that, hey, you know what? There's more natives than you know out there. We're just hiding. And we're coming out at you, and in a good way.
Exactly.
I have to say, in a good way.
That's
absolutely.
Right. And for those of you watching us on Facebook, we have our Ogama there with her new baby.
So sweet.
This is Nova Lee, and she is just a doll. Could you tell everyone how old Nova Lee is?
Yeah, so Nova Lee will be 6 months on September 8th, and she is just learning how to sit up and practicing eating some solid foods. She's currently got a spoon in her hand. She has 2 teeth, and critical care. We're pretty grateful for that, too. She has been, all in all, a pretty healthy baby, despite her first cold being COVID. Her and I had COVID back in May. But she has been pretty healthy, and she's hanging out with me today for the show, even though that doesn't always happen. She just decided she needed me, which is okay, I think, for a baby this age. But
hey, we got a surprise guest coming up next here on Native Roots Radio at the fair, and we want to acknowledge and promote all the good things that us natives are doing. We'll be right back after this short break.
Stay with us.
I find your lack of Devil Radio 92.7 disturbing. Do not fail me again.
I'm Ben Thomas with an AP News Minute. The latest data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention showed the number of COVID-19 cases, deaths, and hospitalizations all trending down. Reported cases are now below 90,000 per day, deaths 392, and hospital admissions just below 5,300. Meanwhile, a legal fight has erupted over vaccine patents. Moderna is suing Pfizer and German drug maker BioNTech, accusing its two main competitors of copying Moderna's technology to make their own COVID-19 vaccine. Moderna says Pfizer and BioNTech's vaccine, known as Comirnaty, infringes on patents Moderna filed years ago for the technology behind its vaccine, known as Spikevax. Moderna and Pfizer's two-shot vaccines both use mRNA technology to help patients fight the coronavirus. Moderna filed patent infringement lawsuits in both U.S. federal court and a German court. A Pfizer spokeswoman declined to comment. I'm Mike Rossio. And I'm Ben.
For eligible individuals, 18 and older only. Results vary. Audio effects do not simulate actual hearing aid experience. See website for details and important safety information.
How are your hearing aids sounding now?
A little tinny.
Okay, 2 seconds.
With hearing aids from Lively, everything is done remotely in the comfort of your home, from initial testing to adjustments.
How are they sounding now?
Fantastic. With Lively, you get premium Bluetooth-enabled hearing aids at thousands less than you might expect. Advanced hearing aid technology is now affordable and convenient. Your hearing aids are sent right to your door. And if you have any issues, we'll make adjustments 7 days a week for 3 years. No charge.
Oh, you people at Lively are wonderful.
With Lively hearing aids, you get free shipping, 3 years of follow-up care included free, plus a 3-year warranty with loss and damage coverage. You can't lose.
I hear better than I ever thought possible.
And now through Labor Day, get $300 off all rechargeable hearing aid models. Just go to listenlively.com. That's listenlively.com. listenlively.com.
Hi, folks. This is Kirk Bankstead of the Minocqua Brewing Company, and I'm excited to announce our new beer, AOC IPA. This IPA pays homage to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a champion of the progressive movement. AOC IPA is now available in stores throughout Wisconsin. Check our website, MinocquaBrewingCompany.com, to see which stores in your area are carrying it.
Hey, Brad from Zero Res Madison here. What's the best way to clean your carpet? Well, not surprisingly, it's the same way you clean your clothes. You wouldn't clean a dirty shirt by running a white cloth over the top of it, nor would you try to get it clean by sprinkling chemicals and rubbing it in. For a real clean, you need hot water, agitation, and a cleaning agent, just like your laundry. For a fresh, healthy clean with no residue, call Zero Res Madison or schedule online. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward, it's the right way to clean.
For Civic Media.